Alright, what's really going on? Bitcoin, cryptocurrency. Today, going to be taking a look at XRP against USDT. Going to be assessing some of these key technical aspects of price action moving forward. Going to be taking a look at some of these key areas of support and resistance I believe we're going to be interacting with in the very near future here. Are you bullish? Are you bearish? Do you trade? Do you hold? Or do you let the price action unfold? Let me know in the comments down below your perspective moving forward based on this kind of relative break downward, aggressive break downward from a kind of symmetrical-esque kind of like trading accumulation pattern up here between sort of like $2 and like $1. We were looking like pretty bullish, and we're going to see the multi-dollar kind of range for XRP, but momentum changed abruptly, and we're now back to these lower levels that we've seen before. Do you think we're bullish enough to find support along this kind of like pivotal zone here and kind of maintain the uptrend and interact with that multi-dollar range sooner or later here? Or are you bearish on XRP and you think we're going to come back down to like sub a dollar, stay under sub a dollar, and interact with these kind of lower levels that we've been trapped in for kind of months at a time? Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on price action moving forward. Now jumping right into it, to recap this kind of, up, sideways, down, sideways, up, sideways, down, sideways. If price action were to follow, a similar pattern like it kind of did back in, earlier kind of this year, end of last year, before we broke significant resistance in my zone of slapping, shoving, punching, and kicking area around 72 cents and like 79 cents. I kind of flew all the way up to sort of like $1.90, kind of like 6 cents. To like trade sideways for a bit, and then we broke downward. What if we perhaps say have some like similar-esque kind of price action that's sort of relative to that previous one before we kind of take off to the multi-dollar range again? I still suspect XRP could potentially be in a long-term uptrend. This does like seem to be a kind of healthy pullback, and this kind of area, like I said, kind of above 72 cents and under 79 cents is going to be a kind of key area of support that I believe we can maintain to suspect that the uptrend will likely continue. Although if we start closing kind of below my kind of like 72 cent line, then we could very well interact with kind of these lower levels here, kind of like 63 cents, and then like the analysis would have to kind of like change from there. But at the moment, I still suspect an uptrend to likely be present, and accumulation between these kind of ranges. I have another zone of kind of like resistance, I believe, of kind of like above $1.06 and like under $1.15 is going to be this kind of like range that we're going to be perhaps trapped in for a period of time before we kind of continue upward and interact with that kind of like upward dollar zone. And so when we consider EngineeringRobo along with the Sacred Symmetry, Illuminati, Fibba, Zucchini lines of Bugattis, we can you see kind of new perspective come into play here when we consider this kind of sell for, suggesting some short-term kind of bearish price action. Accumulation above this 200 daily moving average is still long-term bullish in my opinion. We have the 0.5 Fibonacci line just under my kind of upper slapping zone there. The 0.5 line is at $1.03. Going to be some local resistance kind of at moving forward. And then we have the 0.382 line at 81 cents just above my kind of 79 cent support. And so that's going to be supporting our kind of like midterm range. I believe we're going to be bouncing up and down between for a period of time before we can interact with perhaps that 0.618 line just above like $1.15 support, which would be resistance at the moment. We have the 0.786 line at 57 cents. Going to be another kind of pivot point that we're going to probably likely see a rejection off of to kind of come off of perhaps $1.38 after. But we have the FOMO zone here up kind of like near my upper zone around like $1.83. Now, the fear and FOMO zone is typically used for more mid to long-term holders that tend to just like, kind of like buy and hold a more investor type strategy moving forward, rather than the trader who would buy and sell at kind of key take profit levels, perhaps support and resistance method. The fear and greed index is used for more kind of like mid to long term investors. And so if you're buying and accumulating in these kind of lower levels here, these kind of like more fearful levels in the kind of fear zone under this kind of like in this green kind of shaded area, if you were buying at the kind of last time to be accumulating at the end of January of this year, and you sold within our first kind of interaction with the kind of like FOMO zone, you would have made 573% in like 76 days. And so that would be a kind of more like midterm trade kind of thing, like a midterm kind of investment rather than kind of like a day trade or a swing trade. And so now we still seem to be like we're in between the kind of upper and lower kind of levels here, which is like the kind of zone to be trading. So I suspect we can interact with the kind of FOMO zone like for a second time, and we're going to see that kind of like upper kind of levels again, in the kind of like perhaps kind of near future here, in my opinion. And so interaction with the kind of fear zone would be possible in a kind of like long term, as as it raises kind of thing, like as prices kind of stay at these levels, the fear zone will kind of like raise and kind of be at at higher levels eventually. But before a reversal could potentially be considered, and before some perhaps like prolonged bearish price action could be considered, I do believe some interaction above that 0.786 line is likely to occur before we can consider some long-term XRP, bearish XRP price action. But at the moment, I suspect the uptrend to be likely to continue, and we could see some bullish buy suggestions come into play here as we find support, hopefully above 79 cents with lows of like 72. And so, lots going on with XRP at the moment. When we consider XRP against the price of Bitcoin, we can see we're kind of between. I have these two ranges here. I believe we're going to find support along the 2268 Satoshi level, with local resistance around the 2898 Satoshi level. A more bearish target is going to be the 11532 line. I suspect these FIBA Illuminati lines that are going to be present to be more significant kind of midterm pivot points that we're going to be interacting with. Although I do suspect price action to remain kind of perhaps rather sideways with some kind of like lower targets just below my 2264 kind of support line there, to print some perhaps higher lows relative to wicks, kind of like back in kind of like for a few days ago, 23rd of May there when we wicked back to like 2012 Satoshi. Higher lows above like I believe still like 18 Satoshi in my opinion can still be considered as still like a higher low and like long-term bullish. But when we consider EngineeringRobo along with the FIBA Zucchini Illuminati Bugatti Paparazzi playing Yahtzee with Germans, we can see sell for and hell present. Interaction with the 0.5 and 0.618 line, I do believe, is going to be the kind of key zone that we're going to be interacting with, kind of above and below my 2266 kind of Satoshi level there. 0.382 line correlating with my 2890 Satoshi level quite nicely, so that's going to be some local resistance, I believe, as we get up to it. 0.236 line just under my upper zone of slapping and shoving that we got aggressively rejected off of kind of a couple weeks ago. 0.236 line is at 3405 Satoshi. It's going to be a kind of key pivot point that we're going to have to find support along, I believe, before we can kind of blast through this kind of resistance area. Like I said, the very kind of like bearish target is going to be that 1526 kind of Satoshi level. Perhaps interaction with that 200 daily moving average. You do have a cloud buy still present, so the trend can still like maintain kind of bullish, although some perhaps prolonged kind of like bearish consolidation could very much occur. And so there's definitely lots going on with the price at the moment. There's lots of fear, uncertainty, and doubt in the market. Lots of traders, lots of new investors, like buying and selling. And so there's definitely a lot of volatility at these levels. And so, but when we consider Bitcoin itself, we can see what it's been up to lately. We have interaction at these kind of lower levels here. We're breaking below that Fibonacci line at 31K. And so I do suspect the interaction, if we can hold above that 34K level, then I do believe we can be kind of more like short-term bullish, and we can kind of bounce between that 0.618. But like I was saying, we have more significant support at 32K, so we could very well interact with levels kind of down there. There's going to be a lot of sell pressure off of that 200 daily moving average, as that's going to be a very weird technical kind of like bearish perspective kind of for a lot of or many traders, I believe. And so we're going to see a lot of kind of like sell pressure off that, in my opinion. And so I hope to see support along the 0.5 line, although like I said, that 32K level is going to be my kind of more significant support area. The 0.382 line is at 27K, which is going to be a more longer term bearish target, but price action is kind of still holding, so far so good in my opinion. We're interacting with these kind of lower levels that I've been suggesting kind of since we were bouncing kind of like off of like 49K back in the kind of end of April. This kind of consolidation, kind of upward exhaustion of after what was like, a very vertical multi-100% kind of like, uptrend the past kind of 300 something days. And so we broke downward, retested with this kind of significant resistance at 57K, and this continuation downward is now occurring. I believe consolidation along these levels is going to be going to be very volatile for a period of time, and we could very well see some prolonged sideways for Bitcoin as we know the fear, uncertainty, and doubt clears in the market. But overall, I'm still long-term bullish in my opinion. Thank you for hearing my analysis. Thank you for tuning in. Try EngineeringRobo free with a link in the description. Subscribe here on YouTube. Let me know in the comments down below. Are you bullish? Are you bearish? Do you trade? Do you hold? What are you doing with your XRP, with your Bitcoin? Are you diamond hands through all this, selling and panic selling and whatnot? Or are you buying at all these key levels when everyone is fearful? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for tuning in, and tune in for the next one.